Hi, I'm Sophia, but most people call me Sophie. You know how it is these days. People prefer nicknames over real names, even if the nickname is just as long as the government name. Well, I'll stop right there, because I know you didn't come here to hear me talk about nicknames. And in case you can't tell by looking at me, I'm a country girl. I'm from this small rural town in North Carolina. Ain't no need of me telling you where I'm from. Trust me, you never heard of it. But what I will tell you, it's about 50 minutes outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, where I currently live. Now, when I lived in this small town, I was oblivious to all the things that were going on in the world. I had no idea I was an at-risk youth because I grew up in a home without a father. Well, no one ever talked about my father or the fact that he was there, so I just accepted his absence as a part of my life. But I will tell you one thing those people talked about, and that was color. Honey, they were obsessed with the different shades of black people. Now, according to most of the people at home, they told me I should have felt blessed that God decided to give me light skin. You see, with light skin, you didn't have to worry about your skin being too black. What's too black? I asked the teacher one time. She heard me, but she never answered the question. But after that, I heard people say it countless times. Don't be out in the sun too long, you can get too black. But unfortunately, they weren't talking to me. You see, I was light-skinned, or as this one fool called it, light-skinned. I think I was about the age of 10 before people started giving me intravenous shots of self-hatred, and it was kind of linked to my skin color. You see, I think if I could look back and say who had the biggest impact on me hating my skin, I would have to say it was my mom. I remember I was like maybe 10 years old. She sat me down at the kitchen table just to talk to me. I felt like I was getting big girl advice. So I was sitting there just soaking up everything she had to say. And that's when she told me, look, Sophie, it takes nothing away from you to give another woman a compliment. So if a woman or a girl is beautiful, tell them so. I was like, okay, Mom, that sounds like good advice. I could do that. And then she just flipped the conversation. She just did the straight beeline and started talking about skin color. She started telling me about dark-skinned women. Dark-skinned women, she said, Sophie, they're the most beautiful women in the world. The next time you're around them, just look at their skin. It doesn't age, it doesn't show scars or pimples like ours. I sat there, I was like, yeah, mine shows pimples. I was looking at a pimple the other day in the mirror. And she was like, yeah, their skin is flawless. And she got up from the kitchen table and walked away. But before she walked out of the room, she looked back and said, you know what, Sophie? I wish I was dark-skinned. Me too, Mom, I thought to myself. I wish I was dark-skinned. Now, let me tell you, my mom didn't stop there. By the time I hit puberty and God started getting my attention, she was right there to give me dating advice. Sophie, don't you waste your time with anybody your complexion or lighter. Why? I didn't understand that, especially since one of my boyfriends was lighter than me. She explained to me that that was crazy to date someone lighter than you. So I was like, okay. And then she asked me this question, why would you want him? I couldn't answer it. So you know what I did? The next day I went to school and I broke up with James. And honey, I didn't date anyone the same complexion or lighter than me for years. Later in life, I learned where she got this thinking from. She got it from her dad. And of course he was dark-skinned. And he wasn't the only one who thought like that. Trust me, walk up to any black person over the age of 30 and say, the darker the berry. And I guarantee you, they can finish the phrase for you. The sweeter the juice. See, I told you. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with people thinking a dark berry has sweet juice, but just because a berry is dark, does that necessarily mean it's sweeter? That's all I'm asking, because I've had some juice from some light berries and it seemed to be pretty sweet too. Well, let's fast forward to the present. I was struggling on my job, so I decided to call into work. You know, take a mental health day. I was going to go down to Freedom Park, chill out, soak up some sun, read a book, and center. So I was sitting on this park bench, reading my book, Ishmael. I was all in it, and I heard the most intriguing conversation. It was these two women talking about how hard it is being black in America. And I have to admit, I'm a little nosy, so eventually my curiosity got the best of me. I couldn't help but look up and check these women out. And to my surprise, they were brown skinned. Brown skinned. I was thinking, what do these women have to complain about? You're brown skinned. At least according to Black America, you are perfect. I mean, you never hear black people crack on another black person that's brown skinned. But if you're light skinned or you're dark skinned, it's easy for you to figure out if somebody's mad at you. Usually, they will throw your skin complexion on the insult they hurl in your face. It was a number of times I heard, with your red ass or with your yellow ass. And that takes me to my aunt. Honey, I got this aunt, we are like best friends. And once a month, we get together and we bond. You know what? We bond about being light-skinned, because we had this great aunt who did nothing but criticize light-skinned people. She hated light-skinned people. She refused to even call us by our names. Most of the time, she called us yellow. Not yellow, but yellow. And honey, if you had a sibling that was brown skin or dark skin, she'd go out of her way to make your sibling feel extra special. You see, I had a dark-skinned sister, and she loved her. She always gave her extra portions of food and candy, but she was dark-skinned. But then my brother, on the other hand, he has sticky fingers. Not because he was a thief, but because he was light-skinned. And unfortunately for him, he was lighter than me. So she had to attack his character. For years, I used to tell people this color thing didn't matter to me. But I was lying. See, the other day I was hanging out with some of my girlfriends, and we're listening to music and talking, and this song came on, and I was just dancing and singing and bragging about being caramel and 5'5" with brown eyes, and I got called out. One of my girlfriends stepped up to me and she was like, "You ain't hardly caramel." I was like, "Yes, I am." She was like, "No, you're not." And I got a little indignant with her, you know, walked off, started talking to everybody else. And I wasn't paying attention, but she decided to leave, go to the store. She brought the candy back from the store. It was called a Carmela bar. She opened it up, placed the candy bar right beside my face, and made me tell her why I thought I was caramel. I was busted. I couldn't answer it. I can answer it now. See, I wanted to be caramel, because caramel is brown. And brown to me is safe. It's everything that I'm not. See, I didn't like being light-skinned. The truth is, I didn't like being me.